Welcome, instructors, to this chemical training video, where we're about to embark on an exciting journey into the fascinating world of chemistry education. Chemical hazards are part of working in a lab, but with the right knowledge and precautions, you can protect yourself and those around you. Chemical hazards come in various forms, such as physical hazards and health hazards. The physical hazards include flammable materials, corrosive substances, oxidizing liquids, compressed gases, and explosive materials. The health hazards include toxic compounds and substances that are just generally harmful. Each hazard requires a specific set of safety measures that should be followed. Such safety measures are found in the safety data sheet, which we'll get to in a later section. The first step in managing chemical hazards is identifying the hazard symbol on the bottle. This also includes understanding the properties and potential risks associated with the chemicals you're using. By recognizing and respecting chemical hazards, you can minimize danger. This includes using suggested personal protective equipment, ensuring proper storage of chemicals, and following safe handling practices, such as keeping your hands away from your face, eyes, and mouth. It's also hazardous to eat or drink in the lab or chemical storage area. Be sure not to apply cosmetics in the lab areas either. Follow these safety tips, and you'll minimize risk. We mentioned before that the safety data sheet, formerly called the material safety data sheet, should be referred to when determining the proper safety measures for hazardous material. So what exactly is a safety data sheet, and why is it important? Well, a safety data sheet, abbreviated SDS, is a comprehensive document that provides detailed information about hazardous chemicals used in the lab. Think of it as your lab safety playbook. First, take a look at the cover. You'll find the chemical's name and the manufacturer's information. This provides a quick overview of the substance. Let's dive into Section 1, Identification. Here, you'll find the product identifier, like the chemical's name or code. Plus, you'll see any recommended uses, which can clue you in on how the chemical should be handled. Section 2 is all about hazard identification. It tells you about the chemical's classification, its hazards, and any signal words like danger or warning. Pay close attention to this section to understand what's at risk in the lab. In Section 3, you'll find composition and information on ingredients. This section shows the chemical ingredients and their concentrations. It's like the recipe of the chemical. Section 4, First Aid Measures, is important for emergencies. Here, you'll learn what to do in case of exposure to the chemical. It provides step-by-step instructions on how to respond to different types of exposure, like skin contact or inhalation. Section 5 covers firefighting measures. It tells you how to extinguish fires caused by the chemical and lists any specific firefighting equipment or instructions. Section 6, Accidental Release Measures, will guide you on how to handle spills or leaks. This is critical to minimize the danger of an accident spreading. Section 7, Handling and Storage. This section gives you information on how to safely handle and store the chemical, It helps you to avoid any mishandling or improper storage. In Section 8, you'll find details about exposure controls and personal protection. This section tells you about the recommended exposure limits and the personal protective equipment you should use when working with the chemical. Section 9 dives into physical and chemical properties. It provides information about the chemical's appearance, odor, solubility, and more. Section 10. Stability and reactivity. Section 10 informs you about how the chemical might react when exposed to other substances or conditions. It helps you prevent dangerous reactions. Toxicological information in Section 11 provides details on the chemical's potential health effects, such as acute and chronic toxicity. This section is crucial for understanding the risks you're taking in the lab. Section 12, Ecological information, tells you about the impact of the chemical on the environment. It's like learning the chemical's ecological footprint. Section 13, Disposal considerations, guides you on how to properly dispose of the chemical and its packaging. It's all about being environmentally responsible. In Section 14, Transport information, you'll find details on how the chemical should be safely transported. Regulatory information in Section 15 lists any specific regulations related to the chemical. Always stay compliant with the law. Section 16, Other information, is a catch-all for any additional info. Reading an SDS is like having a safety guide for each chemical you work with in the lab. Make it a habit to consult the SDS before you start any experiment. Remember, lab safety is a team effort, and understanding your SDS is a crucial part of keeping yourself and others out of danger in the lab. Stay safe, stay informed, and enjoy your journey in the world of science. Personal protective equipment, or PPE, is your shield in the lab. It protects you from potential hazards, ensuring you can work with confidence and peace of mind. Always choose the appropriate PPE for the task. This might include lab coats, gloves, goggles, or masks. Using the right gear is your first line of defense. Wearing PPE correctly is just as important as choosing the right equipment. Ensure your gear fits snugly and comfortably. And remember, proper removal is essential to prevent contamination. Regularly inspect and maintain your PPE. Clean and sanitize it as needed, and replace damaged or worn-out gear promptly. Your safety depends on the integrity of your equipment. How you store chemicals can make a positive difference in creating a safe and efficient lab environment. First, let's talk about organization. Store your chemicals in a systemic way, grouping them by compatibility. Keep flammables away from corrosives and acids away from bases. It's all about preventing chemical reactions where you don't want them. Maintain a record, such as an inventory of all chemicals in the lab, including their locations and corresponding labels. This documentation aids in organization and safety. Use storage areas for your chemicals. This might include safety cabinets or storage rooms with controlled access. Lock them up when not in use to prevent unauthorized access. Maintain proper ventilation in your storage areas. Good airflow helps prevent the buildup of fumes and reduces the risk of inhalation hazards. Pay attention to temperature. Some chemicals require specific storage temperatures to remain stable and safe. Make sure to follow these guidelines. They can be found on the SDS or on the bottles sent by the manufacturer. Regularly inspect your chemical storage areas. Look for damaged containers, leaks, or signs of deterioration. Address issues promptly to avoid any accidents. Keep only the quantities you need. Reducing excess chemicals minimizes the risks and keeps your workspace clutter-free. Always have emergency equipment nearby, such as spill kits and eyewash stations. Being prepared for accidents is as important as preventing them. Finally, ensure that everyone in the lab is trained in the specific chemical storage guidelines and understands the safety procedures. Proper chemical storage is the cornerstone of lab safety. When you organize, label, and store your chemicals correctly, you're creating a safer work environment for yourself and your colleagues. When you're creating labels for containers of stock solutions, there are some key things you must include to adhere to the OSHA Hazard Communication Standard. OSHA stands for Occupational Safety and Health Administration. This information includes the chemical name, the initials of the creator, the date of creation, and the concentration of the solution. These details let us know exactly what's inside the container, who made it, how old the substance is, and how potent it is. Whenever possible, use a label maker as opposed to a handwritten label. But what about labels for chemical waste? This would include any products that cannot safely go down the sink after a class. These labels are equally crucial. They should be adhered to the container and in plain sight to provide important details to the students. The labels should be filled in prior to class and containers set out so students can use. Labels should include the following: the start date of collection, to track when it was first used, the location of where the hazardous waste was collected or kept, and always check all relevant warnings as well. We don't want to miss any potential dangers. And one more thing. Always make sure the lids are firmly in place when you're not collecting waste. We don't want any unwanted spills or leaks. And remember, store these containers in well-ventilated areas to prevent any buildup of fumes or hazardous conditions. Chemical spills can happen, no matter how careful we are. The first step is to understand the nature of the spill. Is it a small, manageable spill, or is it a larger incident that requires immediate attention? For small spills, you can take immediate action. Put on appropriate personal protective equipment and use spill kits to contain and clean up the spill. Always notify others nearby if a spill occurs, even if you think you can handle it on your own. Safety is a team effort. For larger or hazardous spills, it's time to sound the alarm. Alert everyone in the area and follow evacuation procedures to a safe location. If someone is injured due to a spill or accident, provide immediate first aid attention as needed. This might include rinsing the affected area with water, covering wounds, or helping someone at the eyewash station or emergency shower. Contact your lab manager or emergency services as required, and you should do this as soon as possible. After the spill is contained, dispose of waste materials safely according to your lab's guidelines, and make sure you follow all proper cleanup procedures. After the incident, it's better to be safe than sorry. Take the time to analyze what went wrong and think about how to prevent future spills. When it comes to teaching lab safety, effective communication is key. Start by setting clear expectations. Emphasize the importance of safety protocols and make sure your students understand that safety is a top priority. Distribute the student safety contract and be sure to show the lab safety video at the beginning of the semester. Ensure your students know how to use safety equipment, where it's located, and what to do in case of an emergency. Remember, practice makes perfect. Engage your students with interactive training. Conduct safety drills and hands-on activities to reinforce safety practices. Make sure they're comfortable with lab equipment and techniques. Encourage open communication. Let your students know that they can approach you with questions, concerns, or reports of unsafe conditions. As an instructor, you are the leader in the lab. Your vigilance is essential to ensuring everyone's safety. Actively supervise your students. Keep a close eye on their actions and intervene if you notice unsafe practices or deviation from the protocol. Conduct regular lab walkthroughs. Check that safety equipment is in working order. Chemicals should be properly labeled and stored, and you should make sure students are following safety guidelines as well. Perform regular safety audits. Periodically review lab procedures and safety records to identify areas that need improvement or additional training. Provide feedback and corrective actions as needed. If a student is not following safety protocols, address the issue promptly to prevent recurring incidents. Remember, you are the role model. Lead by example. Make sure you're following all safety procedures and wearing appropriate PPE. By effectively communicating lab safety to your students and maintaining a vigilant eye on safety practices, you are creating a safer and more productive learning environment. Safety is a shared responsibility, and it starts with you. First, let's understand what hazardous waste is. This includes any substance that poses a risk to human health, the environment, or both. In chemistry labs, we often generate waste that falls into this category. When handling hazardous waste, it's crucial to separate it properly. Store different types of waste separately to prevent chemical reactions. Ensure containers are clearly labeled with the waste's content and hazards using the aforementioned labels. Be aware of chemical compatibility. Some chemicals can react violently when combined. Always refer to compatibility charts and guidelines. Store hazardous waste in designated areas, away from regular lab activities. Use approved containers that are chemically resistant and leak-proof. Practice waste minimization. Use only the quantities of chemicals you need for experiments in order to reduce waste generation. When handling hazardous waste, wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as goggles and gloves. Always be prepared for spills or accidents. As we come to the end of our chemical safety training, we want to leave you with some closing remarks and a commitment to ongoing safety in the lab. Remember, safety is not just a one-time lesson. It's a lifelong commitment. We encourage you to make it a habit and a priority in every lab setting. Each one of us plays a crucial role in creating a safer environment. Your responsibility for safety is not just for yourself, but for the entire lab community. Share your knowledge and best practices with students and colleagues. When we work together, we create a culture of safety that benefits everyone. Keep up to date with the latest safety regulations and guidelines. Safety standards evolve, and it's important to stay informed and adapt to new practices. Don't hesitate to report safety concerns or incidents. These reports help us improve and prevent future accidents. Learning from our experiences is a vital part of ongoing safety. Don't hesitate to report safety concerns or incidents. These reports help us improve and prevent future accidents. Learning from our experiences is a vital part of ongoing safety. Make an ongoing commitment to safety training. Stay engaged, refresh your knowledge, and embrace new safety techniques as they emerge. Thank you for your attention to safety and for being part of a safer lab community. Together, we can achieve great things while keeping safety at the forefront. Dedication to ongoing safety is a promise not just to yourself, but your colleagues and students. Safety first, always.